Hello everybody, welcome. This is Icy Turbo, and today we're doing another Turbo teaser. Now, unfortunately, before I was able to get my brand new microphone, I was able to experience the Titanfall beta event that was going on up until the beta closed a couple of days ago. As such, while I did actually play through the beta, getting all the way up to, I believe, ranked 15, I was not able to actually get any footage. So as a replacement, I'm actually going to be doing a somewhat commentary on the game itself and my impressions of it, so I'm apologizing right now if I'm not able to get the gameplay, but I still wanted to get the opinions out there, so there's that. Now, first off, for anyone who hasn't been following, Titanfall is a new game by Respawn Entertainment, who, from what I hear, has a lot of the original developers for the Call of Duty franchise up to about Modern Warfare, I believe. It's also being co-published by developer EA, and the entire game is based around both pilot and Titan fighting mechanics. What this means is that you control a pilot through the multiplayer and single-player games. This pilot is very mobile and can double jump and do parkour movements all across the battlefield, and has an assortment of futuristic weapons. Once you build up enough momentum, you can summon a Titan, which is a giant mech, as you can kind of see on this wiki page, that allows you to deal substantial damage, take a lot of damage, and change the dynamics of the game. So, after all of that information, is Titanfall good, and what did I think of it? Well, let's answer the first question right now. Yes, it is good, and I'll continue to reiterate that position as we continue on with this, but I'm also going to say right now, should everyone be excited for it? Yes, but hold on to the excitement at least until the reviews come out for a couple of major reasons, and I'll get into this as I continue explaining the game, but first, let's go off with what my impressions were of it. So, first off, when you play the Titanfall beta, you're going to be going through a tutorial level, which kind of gets you acclimated to how the game works. And I'll say this, the tutorial and the control scheme for this game is fantastic. I'll say that right now. At no point are you feeling that the control scheme is horrible, that button configurations are bad, that the game feels sloppy or choppy. Nothing of that sort happens whatsoever. Every single bit of control in this game is smooth and makes perfect sense with what the buttons are positioned in your hand. Basically, by just putting WASD with your fingers on the WASD keys and your pinky on the shift, and of course your thumb on the space key, you can basically hit every single button that's important, and you don't have to necessarily worry about the game being kind of choppy with its controls. Everything's very simple and very intuitive, and the parkour, which I thought would be the hardest thing for them to get right, is actually the easiest. In fact, it's surprising how easy it is to do these parkour movements. It's all more about player skill than the actual control scheme, as the double jump mechanic and the parkour mechanics are spot on. Now, let's get kind of past the tutorial, but I'll just, throw it out there. The tutorial, great. Definitely good for players to come in and use that because it is done very, very well and it's very stylish. So now we move on to how the actual game plays. As the beta did not have any of the single-player campaign parts to it, I was only able to do multiplayer, and it's 2 maps. And both of these maps are different. One of them is more of a building-based map, which has a lot of different places for players to run through and hide in. The second one is a more open-fielded and larger map, which is more of the Titan battlefield, but I'll get into that in a second. So, gameplay-wise, this game plays as sort of a mixture between Call of Duty and, a little bit of Lost Planet, in the sense that you control mechs and you actually have a little bit of a different control scheme besides crouch, jump, and shoot, with the parkour elements and the cloaking and all that other stuff. What's interesting about this game is that the shooting feels great. I haven't felt a shooter that feels this good to play in a long time. I played a lot of the Call of Duty franchise games on the Xbox, and I played a couple of them on the PC, but out of all the games, Titanfall has been the most fun to just control. Every single time I've been playing the game, when I played the game through beta, there was never a moment where I thought that the other player won a firefight because he just had better reaction times to me or anything like that. Or to rephrase, I didn't feel like it was the game that stopped me from winning against an opponent. It was the opponent. The controls are so fluid and so good with aiming and, using, that if you do lose an engagement, it's because you just weren't playing the game up to the ability that you need to play in order to outplay your opponent. So the controls are fantastic in that regard. The shooting's just fun. intuitive, and enough talking about the controls, of course. So let's get to the actual gameplay. In terms of gameplay, the fact that they have a cloak mechanic in the game and the cloak isn't overpowered kind of speaks of how goodly balanced this game is. And I did just use goodly for that remark. English, it's good. Basically, this entire game is very, very well balanced, which is surprising, especially considering the track record of EA over the past couple of years with their new releases. But this game does feel very balanced, at least with what we were able to play with. Cloaking is not as overpowered as you think. You can still be seen pretty easily, kind of in a way to Halo's cloaking abilities. And the cloak itself is used frequently but isn't overpowered, and since you can mouse over someone and still see their name when cloaked, even if you don't see them right away, it's easier to see them. But what cloak does is it helps you kind of blend in and get the jump on characters that you need, and it's especially useful against Titans who can't see them nearly as well as other players. The big thing I'll say too is that abilities, perks, and guns felt very balanced and very fun. There was never a gun that I didn't want to use. The starting smart gun, the starting machine gun, the shotgun, the sniper rifle, the submachine gun, the anti-Titan weapons, almost every single one of them felt fantastic and perfect. I loved all of them. The carbine has a kick to it and it feels powerful. That's another thing I'll just quickly tangent into. The sound quality of this is amazing. These sounds are great, but going past that, gun balance feels great. The assault rifle feels powerful. The smart pistol is actually a skilled weapon, and it's not as overpowered as people claim it to be. It takes a while to lock on to people, and it does okay to moderate damage. So it's not like you're going to instant kill people over and over and over again. The shotgun is fantastic. I think the shotgun is probably the most powerful weapon per range because it has a really great range for a shotgun. The submachine gun is a great up-close weapon, and the sniper rifle, I saw many different plays going through there, and those were fantastic. In fact, the only weapon I thought that was lacking was actually one of the anti-Titan weapons. You have two so far. One of them is a lock-on rocket launcher, with the other one being a almost machine gun rocket launcher combo that shoots mini rockets at a Titan. And that one was by far the best, because unfortunately, Titans can see you and they can kill you very easily. And having to lock on with the rocket meant that if you weren't able to get into a good position and lock on, you were dead. While it was much easier to switch to a Strider rockets and just shoot towards the Titan and start doing damage, causing a distraction for your team and eventually killing a Titan. I've killed plenty of Titans with just the machine gun rocket combo. I think for at least the lock-on rockets, I would love to see them actually do multiple rockets at a time, maybe as a perk, or have a little bit of power given to that so that there's a reason why the lock-on is so important. Sort of how the smart pistol is balanced, where the lock-on does take a while, but at least you can shoot before the lock-on happens, and if the lock-on does happen, you get the kill, where I believe that them being able to allow the character to actually shoot before the lock-on for the rocket would be better in this situation, especially with how mobile Titans are. And speaking of Titans, we can move on to Titans. Titans in this game feel great, and what's great is that I've killed more Titans as a pilot than I did as a Titan himself. Titans are great tanks, but what's great about them is that they're not insurmountable. In fact, depending on how good you are against them, you can actually take them out ridiculously easily. And that's what's so great about the Titan mechanic. But what's also great is that the Titans can actually be used in multiple ways. You can have them wait in a specific spot and act as a turret. You can have them follow you around and start soaking up damage while you go up into an enemy mech and start taking them out. Or you can get inside of it, take control, and start doing all those rocket salvos and vortex shields that stop bullets. It's an amazing experience, to be sure. But now we have to go to some of the negatives I saw, and there's not many, but they are there. Much like other Call of Duty titles, there's a little bit of respawn issues. There was a couple of moments in the game, and by moments I mean there's a couple of times during the match, where if a team had an advantage over the other team, they would just position their Titans in front of this respawn points as they're pretty fixed throughout the map, and just have them stand there in a guarded position, and then people would just continuously die as they came out of spawn areas until they kind of respawned away from where the Titans were located. Even then, by that time, their advantage had been so destroyed that most of those matches ended with a 100-point differential compared to what it usually would be. So I think the respawns is a little bit iffy right now, but That's kind of been a trend with a lot of Call of Duty games, so it's less of a major negative and more of a I hope they fix this when it comes out to release. The second one is burn cards. Burn cards are kind of cool, but not only did I not really use them, but burn cards in themselves as a mechanic seems a little bit weird. Because what burn cards do is it sort of gives me the impression of the toughness perk from the Call of Duty franchise. And I am sorry if I just butchered that, but in the Call of Duty Modern Warfare franchise, especially 2, you'd have a perk where if you died a number of times, you'd be way harder to kill on respawn, and that thing was crazy stupid powerful. And burn cards seems to be sort of a direction that I don't like that series going, where you suddenly can get extra experience, or you can just take time off of your Titans so that if you're at a disadvantage, you can instantly get into an advantage without having to actually do anything. And while burn cards are not permanent and they are consumed once you use them, the fact that you can get them so frequently and so easily is kind of disconcerting for me, as I was able to get almost double the burn cards I originally had in about 2 to 3 matches, depending on how good or how invariant your skill level is. The final thing I'll note is that melee combat seems a little bit weird. And by that, I mean that kicking people insta-kills them, and you can also do jump kicks, unlike knifing in the original Modern Warfare franchise where you had to be, standing. You couldn't just jump in the air and mid-knife someone. And the problem with the kicking mechanic is that the game is so focused on the gunplay and how guns work that being able to insta-kill someone with a kick just seems very anticlimactic and kind of comes back to the Modern Warfare roots, where people would just run up to people with a knife, stab them, continue on, stab them, maybe shoot a knife at someone to kill them instantly, and it was just weird and crazy and kind of messed up the melding and the immersion of the shooting game. But at the end of the day, I'll say that when I first heard about Titanfall, I was excited, but I held on to expectations because I believed that this game could be something that could be really bad. But after playing through the multiplayer and continuously trying to come back into it and play it again just so I can play it again, get better at it, have fun with it, and the fact that I've had the most fun I've ever had in a shooter compared to Modern Warfare and Halo and Battlefield and all that other stuff just kind of proves a testament to how fun this game is. Even if I lose the game where I die like more than 5 times in a match, even if I feel camped, I don't necessarily feel as angry about it. It doesn't seem nearly as, grief-worthy for me. I find that Titanfall itself is just a fantastically fun game. The movement, the freedom of control, the amount of power that your pilot has in this game, and the fact that the battlefield feels so vast and so good, and yet feels so claustrophobic with enemies all around you, it's amazing. And it's really great that there's different ways of achieving points besides killing players, with the ability to kill AI grunts and specters, which are basically AI opponents that will sometimes shoot and deal damage to you by themselves, and killing them gives you points. So there's a reason for you to have a dedicated grunt and specter killer so that there's not as many guns up when you summon a Titan and then suddenly specters and grunts are shooting at you. In general, I really am excited for this game. I believe that there's some good things about it. I believe that there are things that can be improved. And with the lack of information that we've had about the single-player aspects, the maps, what the game really is going to be about, and the fact that the beta really didn't have that much content to actually showcase as a beta, does have me a little bit concerned, as the game is going to be releasing in the next couple of weeks, and we barely know anything about it at this point besides what we have in the beta and through E3 coverages. But I'll say this, guys. Keep your eyes open. Watch out for those review sites. Look them up. Try looking for your favorite YouTube reviewer. Try to look up through your favorite website and just see what they think of this, because I think that this could be a very fantastic multiplayer game, especially for not only the Xbox One community, but also for the PC community, because I think the PC community really does need that first-person shooter that everyone can kind of get behind, that's fun, and at the same time, not necessarily through a free-to-play model, but something that's just interesting and new. And I think it can sometimes do that. Well, that's it for our Turbo teaser. Thank you guys for your patience and listening to me ramble on about Titanfall. It really is that kind of exciting game to talk about. I hope to see you guys next time. Bye-bye.